I think everyone associates Russia with borscht, but borscht is actually a Ukrainian food. So borscht is like beet stew, beet soup. You think I first thought about that, I was like, oh, it's just like beets, like whatever. But really, it's beets is like beets are a very very small part of it. It's just it's red because of the beets. Like when you boil beets, they lose their color and like so they dye everything red, and so the soup itself is red. But there's, I mean, it's kind of just a plain old vegetable soup. Like there's cabbage and carrots and onions and potatoes, some kind of meat, seasonings, usually parsley and dill are put. They put fresh parsley and fresh dill on everything, and beets, and like and you boil it all together, and that's borscht. Originally, it kind of came from saving like the ends, like when you're chopping vegetables and you get down to like that last little awkward piece, that's kind of whatever, that they would just throw it into a pot all winter like to save it, and then as when food kind of ran out towards the end of the winter, they would have this pot all saved up of all the vegetables that they would eat, and then they would like boil that, and then that was borscht. But so they eat borscht a lot. They fairly like healthy. They're very eat a lot of fresh produce, and you're going to farmers markets or like going out and you go to the Rynok or the market, and there's just produce, like boxes and boxes of all this produce laid out, and it's really good. You kind of go and you talk to them and you just buy it what you need. And so they eat a lot of produce, a lot of fruits and vegetables. And I'm trying to think of other dishes. Holodets is like a meat jello that most people will not be too fond of. Even like younger generation, like younger Ukrainians aren't super fond of it. It's very salty and just has a weird texture because it's made from like, it's basically like a meat fat jello thing. But it's that, and then said plov is very popular. It's a rice dish. Just like rice and pork and like onions and carrots and then different spices. People eat vareniki, which are like stuffed dumplings. So they'll be like, and usually they'll be filled with either cabbage or mashed potatoes and then boiled, or some people do fry them, or you can get dessert ones that will have like cherry pie filling kind of in them. There's also pelmeni, which are the same thing, but they're like raviolis that are filled with meat. Another popular thing is sharma, which is well, even depending on which part. In Ukraine, they'll call them sharma. Some places in Russia call them shawarma. Like, so it really depends on where you're at, and even it's like a kebab, so it's kind of like a burrito with meat and like cabbage and carrots and French fries and sauce. Like, well, just potatoes, but they usually use French fries. So those will be like the stand on the side of the road that you'll get food from. Like I said, sala, just the bacon fat, which actually grows on you. A lot of people will drink kvass, which is like a non-alcoholic fermented bread drink. So it's kind of like a non-alcoholic beer in a way. But that also grows on you. It's really strong and just disgusting at first, but now it's, I don't mind drinking it at all. I think it's good. And then just the candies, like you'll go into a candy shop and there'll be different kind of cakes and baked goods and different sweet things and different, just all sorts of different kinds of chocolates with different fillings. And, mostly everything has sweet condensed milk. So you see is gushonka on everything. And, like it's put on everything. And then blynchiki, which are like crepes. So they'll eat crepes a lot. There are Russian stores in pretty much every major city in the US. Like I know there's 2 in Salt Lake, here, the nearby. And so and you can find things online. So if you go to a Russian store, especially get bread, fresh bread, it's delicious. I'd buy, like one of my areas, I lived above a bakery. And so we'd like buy fresh bread every day from the lady. Run down in the morning and buy a fresh loaf of bread, like when it's coming hot out of the oven. And then we get pirushki, which are like stuffed scones. So like dough that's stuffed with either like cabbage or baked potato or mashed potatoes and then fried. Like, so it's like a normal scone, like a fry bread, but stuffed. And so even if you go to like find a store, you can find a lot of things to kind of try it out before you go, especially different candies and desserts and things.